Passing has to be one of the most overlooked and neglected parts of Rocket League. No one passes as much as they should, but why? Well, today we're going to discuss this, as well as how to pass, when you should pass, and ultimately what makes a good pass. This is how to pass the ball in Rocket League. Whenever I ask people how do you go about a pass, I always get the same response, which is that you have to hit the ball to your teammate. And this couldn't be more wrong. Especially in the case of a ground pass, you do not want to hit it directly at your teammate, but into space. This is extremely important because your teammate is generally going to be moving rather than being stationary. The reason you do this is this stops the ball from going behind your teammate and actually allows your teammate to catch up to the ball and be able to gain possession smoothly and easily. This requires a lot of accuracy and precision, so I would highly recommend checking out one of my previous videos which goes through exactly how you go about hitting the ball in this scenario. It is also important to note a more effective ground pass will be one that draws in one of their opponents. This is one of the key elements of passing in general, because there is now one less opponent that's able to defend against you, and it puts pressure on the other defenders that are left over. This also helps ensure that your pass isn't cut off, as this is one of the biggest threats to ground passes in general. By drawing in the defender close to you, you reduce the risk of the pass being cut off. This is also vital for stuff like back passes, which you cannot allow to be cut off. In essence, a good ground pass is going to be one that's to your teammate's advantage, that draws in a defender and isn't able to be cut off. Wall passes are probably the most common type of passes in Rocket League, and you would think everybody would get it right then. Nope. This is one of the most screwed up parts of Rocket League. A good wall pass is one that is again to your teammate's advantage and requires a specific technique in order for you to get it to them. This technique involves you chipping the ball upwards into the middle. This can be achieved in a variety of ways. Some of these include scooping the ball upwards, popping and then flipping into the ball, as well as just simply hitting the ball in general. In order to effectively scoop the ball, you need to drive underneath the ball and then veer upwards into the ball. This should pop the ball upwards but also into the middle. It is important to note that while this might be one of the easiest ways to do it, it is not necessarily the most accurate way to be passing the ball. To gain more accuracy, we want to drive near the ball and get under it just like we would to scoop. But instead we want to do a small little pop. This should put the ball roughly 1 to 2 cars length away from the wall. You then want to do a small single jump off the wall, and then with your delay flip, you want to flip into the ball. It is important to note that your flip is not going to last for a super long time, so you have to do the small single jump and the subsequent flip pretty quickly. The benefit of using this strategy is that you are able to use your flip to direct the ball better. Once again, I would highly recommend checking out my other video which goes through how to use your flip better. Finally, what about just simply hitting the ball? If you want the ball to go downwards, you'll want to drive into the ball and hit it with the nose that is closest to the ground. If you're wanting the ball to go upwards, you will want to do the opposite and hit it with the corner that is closest to the ceiling. If you want the ball to simply pop at the same height at which you are, you want to hit the ball directly in the center of your nose. Depending on where your teammate is and where they will want it, you will alternate between these 3 different variations. Corner passes are probably one of the most messed up things in Rocket League. No one puts time and effort into any of their corner passes, and they just assume that their teammate should be able to get something out of it. Well, it's time to change that. Corner passes are exactly the same as wall passes, except you are passing the ball on a different angle. As well as this, a good defender will generally be sitting on the backboard. So what this means is that you can't necessarily hit the ball to the backboard or roll it along there. This adds an extra layer of difficulty, so let's talk about how you can get around this. The next strategy is hitting the ball up into the ceiling or into the ground. It is important when you do this that you have to do it quickly so that the defenders have less time to react. This will piff the ball roughly into the middle and your teammate should be able to do something with it. The final main strategy is to utilize the ceiling as a way to evade the opponent. Driving up with the ball to the ceiling and then pitching it back down will most likely draw in a defender, as it's a lot harder to read. It also allows you to be able to flip into the ball, but does require a fair amount of boost. So only use this if you have enough boost. It's also important to note here that if you don't necessarily have possession of the ball and it's rolling in the corner, you can utilize stuff like pinches as a great way to get it middle. While this may be unpredictable, it is largely undefendable and actually can be a great way to pass. There are countless ways that you can pass from the corner, but these are probably the best and most efficient ways to do so. But the key takeaway is that you don't want to be predictable with your corner pass because the opponents will simply just read what you're doing. We are now going to cover arguably the hardest type of pass you can do. Aerial passes. Aerial passes are difficult because they require a huge amount of precision as well as great timing. We're going to break this down to make it real easy and simple. Aerial passes, much like ground passes, rely on how you hit the ball, but because you're in the air, there is a slightly different technique to doing so. To hit the ball downwards towards a teammate, you want to hit the ball while your car is upside down and straight in the middle of your nose. It is vital that your car is upside down when you do this because it is an easier way to hit it downwards. This is exactly the same as a double tap or any aerial shot. To hit it to the right or the left, you want to be hitting the ball while your car is on its side and directly in the middle of your nose. So if you want to hit it towards the left, you will angle your car downwards to the left so that the hit goes to the left. And it is the reverse if you want to hit it right. If you are wanting to hit it upwards, you will actually just want to aerial into it as you normally would, with your nose pointing upwards. These movements are vital to whether your pass succeeds or not, and most of the time this is the sole reason why people screw up their aerial passes. People neglect this part of their pass, and it is very common for people to not actually hit the ball in the right spot of their car, or on the right angle. This can be largely down to excessive use of air roll, a lack of car control, or simply just not thinking about where they want to hit the ball. These movements can also be applied to stuff like redirects and pinches, but I would highly recommend first just learning how to hit it normally. So now you should know how to go about these different types of passes, but when should you use them? This is arguably the hardest part of a pass, but essentially a pass should be used when the opponents are generally set behind the ball. We utilize passes to break down their defense and allow our teammates to get a proper shot on net. The other use of a pass is just simply to improve your position, whether it's in your defense with a pass back or whether it's on the attack. Passing opens up angles which can lead to scoring opportunities. So passing in general is essentially improving your chances of winning the game. So feel free to use this video as a guide on how to pass the ball in Rocket League.